serikali hii. Mimi nawaambia hii serikali
to keep on lying and lying.
They're being taxed everywhere. They're not being told where the money is gonna go.
I stand to support this Finance Bill 2024.
As members of that opinion say aye. So the ayes have it.
The day has come, my brothers. Watch him. We gotta watch him. We gotta watch him. Si walisema mambo ya Rivayala waliwacha.
Conversation this crucial was hijacked by dangerous people.
But we cannot relax. We gave you the best, somewhere to rest, but now you're moving against us. You're making a mess.
I'm here to address you. You must go. Ruto must go.
William Samoei Ruto. Hii serikali hii. Mimi nawaambia hii serikali ni ya mahasla.
Matumaini ya kila mtu. That's the reason why we voted this government.
To keep on lying and lying.
They're being taxed everywhere. They're not being told where the money is gonna go.
I stand to support this Finance Bill 2024.
As members of that opinion say aye. So the ayes have it.
The day has come, my brothers. Watch him. We gotta watch him. We gotta watch him. Si walisema mambo ya Rivayala waliwacha.
Conversation this crucial was hijacked by dangerous people.
But we cannot relax.
We gave you the best, somewhere to rest, but now you're moving against us. You're making a mess.
I'm here to address you. You must go. Ruto must go.
Afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another edition of The Big Picture. My name is John Allen Namu.
I'm Justine Wanda.
And I'm Tom Mukwana. Thank you very much for joining us this evening or this morning, depending on what time zone that you're watching us from. Big Picture, great conversations, and great hosts. And today we've got a big guest, figuratively and also in terms of height. He's a very tall man. The Chief Justice Emeritus of the Republic of Kenya, former President of the Supreme Court, Justice retired, David Maraga. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us. And I'm told that before coming here, ulipitia mahali ukakula some very interesting food. Where were you?
I was with what is his name again? This gentleman.
Who says what?
Umbachi.
We were done.
Yes.
Done.
Yes. He reminded me about the cooking we used to do in the village.
Oh, really?
Yes, and it was very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ulikuwa unapika?
Yeah, I cooked.
Oh, really?
I cooked and we ate together.
I'm sure Kenyans want to know, is this standard practice in the Maraga home that Chief Justice will come into the kitchen and ajipikia chai ama something to eat?
Chai, sometimes I wake up before everybody else wakes up. So in most cases, actually, I make myself a cup of chocolate.
Okay.
In the morning when I'm doing something. I don't have to wait for people to wake up.
Yes.
Yeah.
We shall judge your cooking skills in about a week from now. Shout out to
Yes.
Dennis Ombachi.
Yeah.
We're really, really looking forward to that edition of the show.
Mine is not as good as his.
But whose is good? Whose is better than his? I wonder.
I don't know.
Yeah. There are very, very few people who can cook like him. But folks, we've got Chief Justice David Maraga in here for a very specific reason. It's a very interesting time in our country, and he happens to be a man in the frame in many, many ways. Justine and Tom and all of you who have also sent in questions for the Chief Justice. But I actually want to start with a question that's not specifically about you. 3:15 p.m. today, Boniface Kariuki, the young man who was selling masks about 2 weeks ago, who was shot, was declared, he's passed away, but he had no brain activity for quite some time. So it almost seemed like this was the conclusion that it was always going to be. And I wonder, from your point of view, what does justice for Boniface look like from a person who sat on the bench, from a Chief Justice point of view?
First of all, Alan, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
I've just received the news of the confirmed death of Boniface Kariuki. I want to start by sending my heartfelt condolences to the family, as well as to the families of the other 19 who have also died in this last week. We are, of course, not forgetting those who died last year.
Yeah.
Now, we want the families. Have actually sent out a message of condolences to the media about the death of Kariuki. It's a very, very sad kind of situation that we find ourselves in. You're asking about the justice to Kariuki.
Yeah, what does it look like from your point of view? How would you describe justice for Boniface Kariuki as a person who sat on the bench and been the president of the Supreme Court?
Justice for Kariuki is dead. What it requires is that somebody has got to be held responsible for that. The family is devastated. There's no question about it. Kariuki can't be brought back. So whatever we do, we're not going to replace him. So the family is as that permanent loss.
Yeah.
And it will not be the same again. So what is required is death. Somebody has to be held accountable for that.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be held accountable for that. It is not only for Kariuki's family. Of course, that is the most important part of it. But it's for the whole country. Why do I say so? I say so because when you hold people accountable, it is deterrent. It is deterrent. And unless we take that seriously, people are going to be killed because everybody, all of those who are involved, will know that there's nothing that would happen to them. Yes.
That's what I was driving at, because there was a police officer, there are two police officers who are currently in custody. But what Boniface Kariuki's death, Albert Ojwang's death, Rex Masai's death, we can go back to the Kianjokoma brothers and go back years and years. All of these deaths point to something very wrong and very systemically wrong with the police force. Another person who we are concerned about today is Kinyanjui Kianyigia, the IT expert who published this supposed order of events that was supposed to take place, disappeared about a week before the 25th, has not been seen in court he has not been seen. And the director of the Department of Criminal Investigations has just said that the police don't know where he is and that he should surrender himself to the police. You were a practicing lawyer for about 25 years. A good chunk of that time was spent during the Moi regime. I remember when former Chief Justice, your predecessor, Bernard Chunga, was a DPP. And people would go to court filing habeas corpus applications only for him to fight that. Are we back in that time from your point of view? Have we sunk that low? If Kenyanjui is still missing a week after he went missing?
Actually, I would if I recall, during Chunga's time,
yeah,
people were brought to court even at 6 in the evening. All that was intended to bring people to court so that the relatives are not there, the lawyers are not there. And of course, there was an outcry. The Kenyans shouted about that, and it was stopped. And there were several applications of habeas corpus. And wherever, if I recall, I mean, unlike now, if I recall, when orders were given, actually those people were produced in court.
So you're saying we're worse off now?
That's what I think we are getting worse off. Because when you make an application for habeas corpus, and the state says, look, this man is not in our custody. Where is he? Where is he? He has not, I mean, his body has not been found on any roadside. Nobody has claimed to have abducted him. And with the recent abductions that we had, which are now clear were state-sponsored, when somebody is not found, the immediate or natural inference or assumption is that he has been taken by a state. Yeah. He has been abducted by the state. So that is that's what I'm saying, that it is even worse now, because I mean, they are abducted and nobody says where they are. And I mean, the state denies responsibility or having him in custody. Yeah, that's quite worrying.
Yeah, and yeah, sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Before you go, for the friends who do not speak legalese, habeas corpus is when a person who is supposed to be under arrest is supposed to be brought in front of a judge or in court. So sikaitu hapo una nod. I'm helping you because hata mimi
My apologies. Yeah, and actually it's supposed to happen 48 hours after a person has been arrested, right? Yes. But you know, sitting here hearing you point this accusing finger at the police. You are in charge of a commission that was looking into some of the actions, some of the problems within the police force. Is this a reflection of what you saw? And if so, what's the next step that should be taken by David Maraga, who is not now part of the commission, who is not the Chief Justice, but who is, shall I say, a candidate for the presidency in 2027? I'm declaring on your behalf. Maybe that's a question I should ask first, because I think, I think people want to know definitively, are you in this race? First of all, before we go forward.
I've said it before. I'm in this race to the end.
To the end?
Yes.
Win or the other alternative?
To the end.
Okay.
Yes.
As David Maraga, say things go well and you're the president, what is the first thing that you do to be able to tame this issue? Because this isn't an issue that you would have created. It's an issue that you will have found, but it isn't even an issue that the Ruto regime has created or the Kenyatta regime. This supersedes most of the regimes, if not all of the regimes that we have in power. What is it that you're going to do differently as a president to be able to tame the kind of systemic corruption, impunity, and misuse of the law that the police have perpetrated for decades? How would you change anything?
Thank you, Nam. If you have followed my tweets and the media letouts, you will remember that I have said, look, this country needs resetting. This country needs restoration. This country needs to be rebooted if I may use that term.
Yeah.
Why am I saying that? Why I'm saying that is that Kenya is a democratic state. The principles of democracy are not even being followed. Why is this so? This goes back to almost independence. We started as a parliamentary with a parliamentary state.
Yeah.
Later we changed into a presidential. And you will recall that when we changed into presidential, we developed a presidential. I mean, we call it the imperial presidency, where the president has all the powers, controls all the institutions and all the powers. In fact, in those days, we used to have small radios in the offices to listen to it, because
just in case someone was sacked.
When somebody was sacked, it used to come. I mean, at the 1 o'clock news.
Yeah.
Before you get it in the evening. With that presidency set up, it became an extractive system. Those in power, and you remember with the infamous this policy paper.
Sessional paper 10.
Paper number 10
of 65.
of 1965.
Yeah.
It became an extractive state. Those who are in power were there to enrich themselves, to enrich their cronies and friends. And at that time, what we used to have was government land. Government land was allocated left, right, and center to people who were in power.
Yeah.
So it went on. Now it has reached a stage where those in power, it's like you give them a blank check to the public resources. They want to use it as they want. First of all, to enrich themselves, and what you are getting, what you are getting is like the leftover.
Yeah.
And you can see that somebody has come in, he has spent, call it 10 million shillings. The first thing he wants to do is to recoup that amount. Once he recoups that, he starts building a war chest. And now it is going beyond even the campaign funding. It has gone to the extent that you want so much money that you can buy loyalty. If you get what I mean, you buy royalty. Those people who are likely to be opposed to you, you dish some money to them.
Yeah.
And you get them to keep quiet.
Yeah. Which is, I think, essentially just bribery, right? Illegal to the core.
Of course.
There is a question here before we proceed that has been asked. It's a very important question by CMM. I don't know if it's a he or she, but they ask, would holding a person for more than 48 hours nullify the entire case?
No. It can't nullify the case. What it does is that this person has been held illegally beyond the period given, and he has recourse. Whether or not he is convicted for an offense, he has recourse against the state for damages for that illegal detention before he's taken to court.
Okay.
Yes.
On the police issue.
So wait, give me a minute. With that, now that's where we are.
Yeah.
We have an extractive system. It has gone to a point where literally there is an outcry in the whole country. I don't know which Kenyan is happy with the current regime. So I would call this the critical juncture of a nation. When a nation comes to a critical juncture, is make or break. What I'm advocating is that we now need to have a paradigm shift from that extractive system to a system that serves the Kenyans.
Yeah.
A system that takes care of the resources of the nation, knowing, you know, when you are in leadership, you are like a trustee. You are a trustee of the assets. You know, when you are a president, the resources, the national resources are actually put in your disposal to use for various state state processes. So when you take quite a chunk of that to yourself and to the people around you, now you've breached that trusteeship relationship that the people have given you, and unless we break that and make it such that anybody coming to power comes to power as an employee of the people, and is only entitled to what the salary that is given to that office. If you don't, if you're not content with that, don't apply. I mean, how many positions are advertised, and you look at it and say, look, the remuneration here.
Hiyo si yangu.
Hiyo sio yangu. I don't want to go there.
Look, but I.
So once you finish that, you will now deal with the issue of corruption, so that now you stop it, you end it, and the resources now begin being utilized for the purposes for which they are set aside.
All right. My final question on this is just to get more specificity, right? So we're talking about reforms within the police. Justine, I'm sure, Tom, we've all had this conversation that we should just defund the police, like scrap that as an institution and build it afresh, right? But what are your ideas on how we get the police service that we deserve as Kenyans? Like, how do we, I understand, you know, you can go after the corrupt, but that, you know, we're speaking in general terms now. As President David Maraga, how do you practically build an institution within the police force that Kenyan people deserve? What are the 2-3 steps that you would think about implementing?
Thank you. The police, the National Police Service, is a national institution. A national institution which is supposed to serve the country. Article, I think it's Article 232, requires the leadership of such an institution to be filled competitively. And it was there initially. Initially, after 2010, it was there. But in 2015, there was an amendment to the Police Act. You know, the Constitution sets the framework. The details of implementation are normally in an act of parliament. So in 2014, 2015, there was an amendment, interestingly, a miscellaneous amendment, that stated that the Inspector General of the Police shall be appointed by the President and vetted by Parliament. There is no competitive recruitment. What has that done to the police? It has removed that independence. The police service is supposed to be an independent institution. If it is independent, say if the president were to give orders, the IG is supposed to say, Your Excellency, I'm sorry, we cannot do that. It is against the law. Can that happen?
Today?
Can that happen today?
Well, I'd actually ask you the question, and I'll frame it another way, right? Again, we're speaking in hypotheticals here, and then I'll bring you guys in now, so I'm not dominating the conversation here. But look, last week, your security was withdrawn, right? And one would presume that that would happen at the behest of someone fairly high up. Are you telling me that with that power in your hands, you would just turn it over to the police and say, you're independent, whether I like the things that you do or not, you know, you're guaranteed that independence? As David Maraga, the David Maraga who has lived in this country and has seen how politics has been played, specifically with the police being a blunt instrument, are you saying and committing to members of the public here that you would never use the police in that way?
I will never weaponize the police. I will never weaponize the police. The police are supposed to act independently within the law.
Yes.
Within the law. They know which orders they have to take. For example, the security of the country ultimately ends with the president. So the president has authority to give lawful orders to the police. And you know, when we are talking about the police, we are talking about the security agencies, the national intelligence, the police, even the prisons. They are supposed to work together, and if there is anything, for example, that threatens internal security, even before the president tells them, they are supposed to, they know what to do. And if it's a matter which comes to the president's attention, of course, he is supposed to ask what is not happening. And whoever has not done his work is to be held accountable. So what I'm saying is that I'm not saying that the police are going to act independent. What the independence I mean is that they have the freedom of operation. They have the freedom of operation. They are supposed to map the security situation in the country and actually advise the president, as I'm sure they must be doing. Say, look, we have a challenge here, we have a challenge here, we have a challenge here, and they are facilitated to work. But when it comes, for example, to, I mean, the president is a politician. When it comes to politics, and the president is saying, look, I don't like Namu. Can you deal with him? The IG is supposed to say, no. Well, I mean, what is the basis? As far as we can see, there is no offense Namu has committed, and we can't do anything about him.
Maskia, there's no offense that Namu has committed.
Yes. So that's what I mean. So they are supposed to, and it's not only the police. Literally all the institutions, even all the institutions in the country have been emasculated. They don't have the autonomy the Constitution gives them to have. They don't have the independence. Any institution which appears to be asserting itself, it is starved of funding.
That's a perfect segue for Justine to come in here, because there are things about your past with the executive that we want to dig into now.
I have, I think, two questions regarding the work that you've done in the judiciary, because I don't remember the year itself, but I do remember when you did ask that the parliament is dissolved because there was just a blatant disregard of the constitution itself regarding the 2/3 gender rule. And I think there's an article in the Constitution that actually pushes for the Chief Justice can advise the President to dissolve Parliament if Parliament is not acting as it's supposed to. And you did that and nothing happened. So what is supposed to happen in a situation like that, especially when the judiciary, as one arm of the government, is holding its end of the bargain, but the executive and the parliament are like, we're not interested in doing what the Constitution asks. Like, what happens in that situation, and how do we follow up to make sure that something like that doesn't happen again?
Yes, thank you. The provision under which I gave that advisory was one of the transitory provisions. With the new constitution, the new constitution provided that there should be gender balance. and stated that there is, no appointative positions which should have more than 2/3 of one gender. And it required that legislation be enacted to implement that provision. And the parliament, the constitution gave parliament 5 years. Parliament went dilly-dallying until the 5 years were over. And with the provision provided that if parliament doesn't do that within 5 years, any member of the public can make an application to the Chief Justice to advise the president to dissolve parliament. That is the provision under which I had 8 petitions that were brought before me, like how many months before I would retire. They came in August. I was retiring in January, and I looked at the petitions. I caused Parliament to be served because they were the ones against whom the orders were being sought. They made their submissions. They didn't convince me that they had any cause. They had had 5 years they should have enacted. So I advised the president to dissolve Parliament.
Why do you think he didn't do that?
Immunity. Immunity. First of all, for him, the parliamentarians, I'm sure, were just laughing with him. Telling him, look, you can't send us home. Stop that mad Maraga. There, forget about him. Quite a number of the parliamentarians, some of them, didn't want to greet me. After that, some of my friends, would meet me, and they were very cold. So the president had very good excuse. Because, if there is, for example, an order directed to the president to do something, and he doesn't do it, it is Parliament which is supposed to sanction him. It is Parliament which is, and the sanction in such a case would be to impeach him. I've recommended the resolution of Parliament. Do you think Parliament would impeach him? The president should have stood up on his own, knowing that this is a court order directed to him under the provisions of the Constitution, and which has brought him to power to dissolve Parliament.
What were those conversations like with the former President Uhuru Kenyatta when you're telling him that there's something legally that you have to do and he's not doing it? Like, what would you, nachukua simu namwambia, hey, there's something that's happening here and you're supposed to set it right. How would you respond, and how do you deal with those kinds of conflicts at that level?
It is not that kind of conversation. We're not having that kind of conversation, and the law would not allow me to. It's like I'm going to say, look, what do I do with you? And he tells me, no, gonna leave that alone. The law doesn't allow, especially the judiciary, to go to that level of discussing such issues. What you do is you have got an application, serve it on the president if it is against him. We served the Attorney General, we served the Parliament, and they deal with it as a case. So once we did that, of course, he was not happy. He didn't call me or talk to me about that. I had done my job. Yeah.
Not even hapo mkipitana, yani when you're at a state event, anakuambia we bana acha kutusumbua.
No. We didn't get to that level. It was so visual.
Yeah.
It was so visual, and I don't think he wanted to discuss that.
Yeah.
I think one of the questions that I would want to ask you as Emeritus Chief Justice would be, first of all, in retrospect, as the Chief Justice, do you look back at the judiciary right now with pride, or are you disappointed to some degree with what the judiciary has become?
It's not fair to go talking about the leadership of any institution which you have led in the past. Everybody has his own way of working. So I would rather not go there discussing as to whether, I mean, some people perhaps might say it is operating better than under me.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
What I want to say is that during my time, I had quite a number of challenges, and it's mainly because somehow I refused to do some things, and some people were not happy with me. But as far as I was concerned, I was doing what I was required to do, what the Kenyans employed me to do.
September 1st, 2017, you make this earth-shattering ruling, declaring the election null and void. And actually the question's coming from some of our team here. When, and again, I know that you might not have met him and spoken to him, but when President Uhuru said, we shall revisit, how did that make you feel as a president of the Supreme Court who had just ruled that the election that should have brought him to power was null and void?
Well, when he made that remark, I was surprised because I didn't expect that to come from the president, because it was a veiled threat.
Yeah,
it was a veiled threat. I slept over it. I thought about it. I prayed over it, and I mean I reached the conclusion that, look, I mean, unless anybody says I didn't do what I was required to do, and unfortunately for them, they had no right of appeal anywhere. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the country, and the Constitution provides that the decision on the High Court on the presidential petition is final.
Yeah,
you know, there must be an end to litigation, and particularly litigation on the term of the president. So I was surprised about that. But I said, look, I will continue. I will not change. I will continue. In fact, if anything, my family and many of my friends were more worried for me than I was worried for myself.
The conversation that I want us to move to now is around politics and obviously your declaration that you want to run. Justine, Tom, tumeona a lot of things online, including fan art that pairs you with certain, you know, running mates, or you being the running mate of someone else. And I think there's parts of this question that we'll all ask. Let me start with the obvious question that's being asked quite a bit. Are you in conversation with Senator Okia Omtata, about forming a team together that can then challenge for the presidency?
I have talked with Omtata, but we have not reached that stage yet.
Okay.
We have not reached that stage yet.
How far are we, just so that we can know how far in terms of the stages?
No. What it is, I am working on my own profile. I'm working on my own vision. As I started telling you, my vision from the conversations I've had with quite a number of Kenyans, and I'm still doing it, is that they want a fundamental change. Kenyans don't want a cosmetic change. They want a fundamental change that will give them dignity, that will take into account their plight. For example, if you talk about the health care, it's literally in shambles. It's literally in shambles. The Kenyans are suffering, and you know there are things which can't wait. For example, I mean, sickness. If you are in pain, you can't be told to wait. Education. If you mess the education of children, you can lose a whole generation. So I'm working on my vision, and I have a team. I am humbled by very many Kenyans who have come forward. Very qualified Kenyans in various fields, and said, look, CJ, we have seen what you've said. You want to run a value-based campaign. I am available here. You know, I don't have any money.
Yeah.
Most of them come, and I tell them, look, but I don't have any money. I'm going to pay you. They say, look, we know you don't have any money, and you are not the one seeking me. I'm the one telling you that I'm available to assist you if you need me. This is my expertise, and we are working. And I have quite a number of those people in my team.
Yeah.
They are working on that, and we are making a lot of consultations on what we need to do to reset the country. What am I saying about resetting the country? We have a constitution which has, I mean, one of the best bills of rights in the whole world. We want to set back our country to the constitutionalism, to the rule of law, where everybody obeys the law. We're starting with the president himself. If I'm privileged to lead this country, I want to obey the court orders.
Yeah.
Because that's what it means by the rule of law. Yeah. I mean, you can't demand that people obey the law when you are not yourself obeying the law. You know, there is this, I mean, sometimes people, the ordinary people have a wrong notion that the president is above the law, so he can do anything he wants. No. They misunderstand that concept. The president is not above the law. The president should be the first one to obey the law and
be a respecter of the law.
A respecter of the law.
Yeah.
A respecter of the law, so that everybody can follow.
We have so many things that we want to get through, and I know Justine, Tommy want to jump in, but if you'll allow me to play a little game over here and just ask, because we're on the matter of pairings. What is your reaction, Justine, to Maraga Gachagua as a ticket? I just want you to watch the reactions. How about you, Tom?
I don't like it one bit.
You don't like it one bit?
Yeah, as a young Kenyan, I do not like it.
All right. And now I want to ask it another way. There's also another candidate in the running who has declared that he wants to be president, Fred Matiang'i, Internal Security Minister, infamous for not respecting court rulings, especially while he was CJ. But he starts his campaign differently than you do. You declare it, and you seem to be working on your vision. He goes straight to the ground and is starting to consolidate his support with his home base in Kisii, in Nyamira. And some might wonder, especially those who are steeped in the politics of, the tradition of Kenyan politics, what is David Maraga's base, right? Is that even a fair question to ask of you? What's your base? Ukona numbers, as people would say on the street. And how do you ensure that that is either a central conversation to how it is you're going to run your campaign, or how differently are you going to run your campaign? So these are not questions that we should be thinking about.
Yes. You asked what is my base. My base is Kenya. My base is Kenya. I want to serve all the Kenyans. And as I told you, I want to run a value-based campaign. A campaign which is going to give dignity not only to Kisii, but to all the Kenyans. A campaign that is going to give facilities, education facilities, and healthcare, not to my team. I'm not saying that the others are I don't want to be understood as saying that that's what they are saying, but that's my vision. How they are running theirs, that's none of my business. So I want to do that.
And I was being maybe a little facetious when I said let's play a game and asking about Rigathi Gachagua, etc. Because when you say value-based, it means something to Kenyans. Justine, what does it mean to you in terms of the kinds of people that you should be allied with or you shouldn't be?
I think for me, one of the biggest problems with Kenyan politics, and I fight with my family about this all the time, is they're looking for a name. They're looking for someone who aligns with, like the name has to align with their own personal politics. It's like a popularity contest. For me, I'm like, even if I didn't know your name, values to me mean every every Kenyan life has meaning. Like when there's an incident, for instance, what we've seen over the last couple of weeks, and even over the last year, and just since this, since 1960, like we could go further back. I'm just saying, like, usually when we have an incident, the first thing, it's usually like, oh, we need Kenyans to think about peace and value the property. And I'm like, Kenyans have been shot. Where are Kenyans in this regular conversation? So value for me means the value for Kenyan lives, the value for the people who are working in this country, and the value for the people who seem very invisible in this economy, in education, in healthcare, in all these different facets of like the Kenyan existence. So value to me is the value for Kenyan life and their daily struggles and their visions and their dreams. That to me, that's value. So if you're running on a platform of that value, 100% yes. If the value is no, we should value people's businesses or property over Kenyan lives, I'm sorry, I'm out.
Or if, just to go back to this point, we will ally with anyone who can bring us those numbers.
Yes.
Right? It might sound practical, right? It might sound like this is what you need to do. But if you're allying yourself to people who have storied reputations of theft, of impunity, then the question then becomes, how do you separate yourself from, these are the people who I'm running with. We might not share the same values, but how do you separate yourself? Day one, now, if you become president and you have someone in the shape of a politician who, who is now saying, okay, nimekusaidia, sasa yangu iko wapi? Rudisha mkono. How do you handle that conversation?
Before we get there, Alan, as I told you, I'm building my profile.
Yeah.
And of course, I'll make it public. I will begin conversations with people who have similar values. For example, I've told you about the looting of public resources. I will want to fight corruption head on. Head on. And say, look, this must stop. This business of people taking public property as their personal property must stop. So anybody who is not of that persuasion, I will find it difficult to work with him.
Okay.
I will find it difficult to work with him. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. We will do that. If he comes and assists to bring in the numbers, and I'm the president, I will tell him, okay, you knew about this. This is where we are. We must reset the country. We must give back the country to Kenyans. The country doesn't belong to the Kenyan leaders. It belongs to the Kenyans. So the country must be given back to the Kenyans.
Okay.
It's interesting that you say that. I think one of the things that I have an issue with a lot of politicians and the politics that Kenya has embraced over the past two decades is this slang. I don't know to call it a slang or if it's something colloquial, but slaying the dragon of corruption. I'll stop it. Something you say too. And we've had this time and time again. How would a presidency with David Maraga look like for those leaders? Because we're speaking about leaders that we see on our television every single day. And it's something that people say on Twitter, jail them. So how will that look like under David Maraga as president, the fight against corruption, like you put it?
Thanks. You know, the corruption, the major crimes committed in corruption are economic crimes, which are supposed to be investigated by ESCC. I will strengthen ESCC. Give it the independence it requires and demand results. Demand results. So that we take action against those who have committed economic crimes against the country. Make recoveries. Make recoveries. The making of the recoveries and the taking action will speak to two things. First of all, I mean, you have taken Kenyans' property illegally, give it back. Secondly, you will be punished for that. That will send a message. will send a message. Depending on how we do it and how effectively we do it, it will send a message.
So
and that is what is required, so that people respect the law, people respect, know their limits, and stop it.
So no option of an amnesty. Say I've stolen billions and they're stashed somewhere, and you say, as long as you give it back, and you will never touch, you'll never do it again.
Watch it.
Watch it. Stay away from it.
Yes.
Is that something that's an option for you?
I have not thought about that. I have not thought about amnesty, and you know that is not a decision you will take unilaterally. I mean, what is on my mind right now is that those who have committed economic crimes should be punished for them, and recovery made as much as possible.
Okay.
The country can have. For example, we have been talking about odious debt. Odious debt is, I mean, you take a loan, some of them international loans with very heavy interest penalties, and it doesn't end up being used for the purpose it was meant. And here we are. Is it 70 shillings per?
Yeah, out of every 100 is about 69 to 70 shillings.
69 to 70 shillings goes to pay debt. We will go through that debt and see whether or not it was utilized for the purpose it was not. It was meant for.
A debt audit.
Yeah, a debt audit.
Okay.
We will do a debt audit.
All right.
And if it was not utilized properly, that's where I say it. That's where EACC comes in.
Okay.
And we do recovery.
Tom, as we're speaking about ODS, there's a lot to unpack there, right? But there's also a lot of people from what I'm seeing, almost 2,000 people who are following this conversation. Some of them are chiming in. Tom, what are they saying?
Well, a lot of compliments for you, David Maraga. Someone says here, Mr. President, calm and collected as usual. If I started counting how many people said my president here, we'd run out of time and our producer would be shouting at us. Someone says here, just like they ignore summons to parliament. I think he's speaking about the disrespect and disregard that the executive has. But then our producer here, our senior editor, Eric, says, I'd like to hear what the CJ Emeritus thinks about the relationship between the executive and the judiciary today, especially as the executive uses its powers to impede the independence of the courts.
That's extremely unfortunate. Extremely unfortunate. The institutions need to respect each other. There is this notion that, some people think that the executive is any senior than the judiciary. No, these are co-equal arms of government. Supposed to check each other to make sure that each operates within its lane as provided for in the Constitution. So when you get court orders being disregarded, regarded as no better than or of no value than the papers they are written on, that's extremely unfortunate. And that is something that the Kenyans should really be angered against. They should feel angry about that, because the disregard of court orders, it is not the judiciary which is being punished. No, it is not. When you disregard a court order, it is not the judiciary that is going to suffer. It is the person who went to court. Maybe he has his human rights have been violated, and he has been injured very badly. We have cases of death. The court has issued an order, and it is disregarded. Who suffers? It is the Kenyan. That's why I'm saying the Kenyans should be angry with the executive when they disobey court orders and say, no, this can't go on. And the Kenyans should be angry. How shall I say they're supposed to act? They are supposed to act through their elected representatives. Parliament, if somebody goes to his MP and says, look, I got a court order on this, and nothing has been done, or it is against the state, nothing has been done, and particularly if it is traced to the president himself, that MP is supposed to move a motion for impeachment of the president. Is it being done?
No.
So this is, it brings me to a question that I had, especially like, how do we get to the point where the three arms of government work together in that there's a respect? The executive respects the parliament, parliament respects the judiciary, like every single arm works as it's supposed to be. Because I hear this all the time where people are being told, elect your leaders wisely, choose the right people in parliament, and those people are going to represent you well when the situation comes to it. But that's not what we've seen happen. Last year, before the protests, people were calling their MPs. They were taking direct action where they were getting their representatives. Some people didn't even know their MPs. Me knew mine. I'm just saying. So there are a lot of people who are finding out who their MPs were on the day they're supposed to call about the finance bill. And then once they call, they tell them this and this and this clause is actually very detrimental to like our lives. Kindly, when you go in there to vote, vote against it. And all their representatives were either very dismissive, very abusive, very, like they didn't care about their concerns. So how do we get to the level where the executive holds a lot of power? And we've seen the Constitution actually demands that Treasury is separated from the executive so that money is disbursed by Treasury as an entity by itself, but that is not being implemented. How do we cut off the excesses of the executive in interfering with parliament and the judiciary to make sure every single arm of government works together but also doesn't work to the detriment of Kenyans?
Exactly, thanks. The Kenyans are the ones who have delegated the powers to the three arms of government and of course the commissions. The Kenyans themselves, and you know why that is happening? The MPs have taken advantage of the vulnerable situation the Kenyans themselves find themselves in. Come election time, they will dish money to the electorate, and they will be voted back. In that euphoria, they will be voted back. And some of the people come and say, wait a minute, I was given some little money and I voted, and this person is not acting in my interest. I am happy that the conversation I am having with the Kenyans now is that they want a change. And they want a change including the one who they are going to elect. The Kenyans are now fairly alert and I mean arising from the circumstances they have been put in, that they are going to think seriously about that. And my appeal to the Kenyans, don't be deceived. Don't be deceived. Think seriously about who you are electing. Assess whether or not he is going to be to mind your interest or he is going to mind his own interest. Yes.
I have two questions, Jan, before you
get
in.
No worries.
First, MK asks, and this is a very important question, given that Kenya is a parliamentary system in theory, sorry, how does he plan to govern should he win without having a potentially compromised legislature undermining him at every step?
You see, Kenya is not a parliamentary state, it's a presidential state. But I understand what the person asking the question means. You need numbers to pass legislation. You need numbers to pass policy decisions that require parliamentary approval. I am going to ask you to work with the Kenyans, the elected leaders. Elected leaders, I mean, we will talk to them and tell them, look, you have been elected. These are the policy decisions we want to make. If you don't want to vote for it, tell us why you don't want to vote for it. Why are you voting against it? And of course, we will be open. We will want Kenyans to know, Tom, if it's Tom, here is a bill saying, look, let us have each county having a referral hospital. And you say, no, I'm not voting for that. Tell the Kenyans why. Tell the Kenyans why, so that we are transparent, and the Kenyans will know who is for them and who is against them.
Yeah.
I believe very strongly that we are going to get numbers. We are going to get numbers to work with, because, as I said, we want to reset our country back to a state where the leaders are trustees. Are trustees. If you are acting selflessly, for the good of the country, people will, even those who are challenging you, will have very good reason why they would want you not to give health care to the Kenyans, or why you want to make health care inaccessible to Kenyans, when you are supposed to do everything possible to enable that the Kenyan, irrespective of his station in life, irrespective of his ethnicity, is catered for.
In a few words, we want to move on to a few things that are really, really important for this moment that we're in. And by this moment, I mean June, right? But in a few words, what's your assessment of the Ruto regime? Have they performed well? Have they performed badly? Are there things that you would borrow from them? Are there things that you just completely bin? When you look at the Kenya Kwanza regime, what's your assessment as David Maraga?
What I would say about the regime is that it has little or no regard for the law. I believe there is a petition in court against the president for violating the constitution a number of times. That case has not been heard. Let's not discuss it. But that tells you, that gives you an idea of what it is. And what we have seen in the recent past, if it is anything to go by, I would say that this regime has literally lost the legitimacy.
It's lost the people.
It has lost the people. When you lose legitimacy, you have lost the people. The people who elected you are not with them. So, you have lost them.
Let's speak about the people for a spell. June, as I'd mentioned, incredibly important month for Kenya, right? I think each of us can say exactly where we were when people were entering parliament. But the seed of that lies in many of the problems that we're having in this country. For all of his sins, one of the things that President Uhuru Kenyatta said was that we have a youth bulge, if not dealt with correctly, can be a disaster for this country. What does a president, David Maraga, do on day one for that young person who has done everything right? They've gone to school, they've studied hard, they've got a degree, they've passed well, but they can't secure a job. What do you do for that person, day one of your presidency going forward?
We're working as I told you, we're working on a vision. One important fact I have told my team is that we have got to prioritize the affairs of our young people. What does that mean? Young people require employment. You're not going to get employment unless you reset the economy. Unless you reform the economy, you reform agriculture, you reform all aspects of the economy so that it can run and create jobs. The government cannot create. The government is not supposed to create. Is supposed to regulate. And it's supposed, compared with the government employees, compared with the employees in the country, the government employees are supposed to be very few. Why am I saying that? Why I'm saying that is that it is the economy that should employ the people, the young people. Right now, what we are having is a situation where quite a number of farms are closing down. Some have closed down and closed over to our neighboring countries. That should bother us.
Yeah.
What is it that we are not doing right and our neighbor is doing right, and these institutions are moving the other side? And I can tell you that we have been told those in government are demanding to be given shares, especially in foreign investors, for them to be allowed to operate.
Yeah.
And those people are against, and they don't want to hear that. So they want to make profit. They want to run a business where they can make profit.
Yeah.
So they cross over. We have to stop that. And as a government, and if my understanding is correct, as a government, the government is supposed to facilitate economic activities. It's supposed to facilitate the business community to run their businesses and create employment. So it's supposed, actually the government is supposed to go, is supposed to call the business community and say, look, what do you want me to do for you so that you can run your business? They will tell you, look, we have a problem with the cost of energy.
Yeah.
Which is a big problem in Kenya right now. Now, when you finish with those people, you now come and sit down with your cabinet, with your technocrats, and say, look, this is a problem. How do we deal with it? Maraga doesn't have the answers for all those questions. I'm supposed to have a team. I'm supposed to have experts to advise me on what we are supposed to do on this. It is discussed broadly.
Yeah.
Those which require public participation, we put them to the public. Sometimes we think that Wanjiku in the village doesn't have an idea. You will make a mistake. I have been involved in cases where you go and seeking the views of the public, and Wanjiku comes up with an idea. You say, look, this one I had not thought of. So don't disregard that. Discuss that and see what is best to be done. Go back to the business community. Tell them, look, we wanted to change this. We want to change this. Is there anything else? What they will of course want to have their best.
Yeah.
And you tell them, look, we can't give you all that you require. I mean, all that you are demanding, and maybe you are being unrealistic here. Have a discussion with them.
Okay.
Yeah. And you will find that they are actually very happy with you.
That sounds like public participation is central to David Maraga's thinking about how to govern. Justine, Tom, do we have anything on that?
I think I do have a question. And this is something, I know you've said very broadly that you're working on the vision of what you want your presidency to look like. But I have a question about the current state and the policies that are in place. My question is very simple. In case you get the presidency, how do you recoup the money from policies that are predatory, they're unnecessary, they're wasteful, and they're corrupt? I'll give an example of what happened with NHIF to SHA. We don't know what the money that was in NHIF went to. How do we recover that money? What happened with the substandard fertilizer? It kind of just like disappeared, and John Allen was literally attacked for bringing this up. He was gaslit. He was lied about. Like, they say that Oz is someone who's paying him to say the story. Yeah. Yeah, they were calling for the African to be censored. That was a joke. but honestly, like, at its core, how do we recover the money, or how do we rechannel the policies that were bad to make sure that money that was spent or like that was taken from people either goes back to them or goes back to work for them? How would you approach something like that?
Good question.
Those are the economic crimes I told you that have been committed. You've talked about the standard fertilizer. I'm a victim. I bought that fertilizer.
Ah.
Yes. I bought, is it about five bags? I have a small farm in Nakuru where we plant maize.
Yeah.
And my people, I mean, I went there over the weekend, and my people tell me, look, CJ, this maize is not growing. Then when I called and I asked the expert, he says, look, which fertilizer did you use? I had to get top dressing to get anything. What about somebody else who can't afford that?
Yeah.
I mean, it had not happened before. Okay, the fertilizers are sold by various farms, but it had not happened. The standard happened. Was it last year?
Yeah.
I mean, we got information that there was more sand than the fertilizer itself in most of those bags. How do you? What do you tell the Kenyans? What do you tell the Kenyans as head of state when something like that happens? I would be mad. I mean, whoever I put in charge, and if that is happening under his watch, I would be mad with him, because the Kenyans are looking at me as the president.
Yeah.
How can you allow this to be done under your watch? Those are the things we want to correct. Those are the things we want to deal with and ensure that they don't happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone asks here, I have two questions, all from our audience. Aduma Mutiva says, could CJ Emeritus explain how his value-based campaign will address the common expectations by the average voter on economic growth, education, healthcare, agriculture, and so on? Then he adds, clearly and simply.
Clearly and simply.
Yani hakuna Kiingereza mingi.
Hakuna habeas corpus and
hakuna Kiingereza mingi. The money that is supposed to address these issues, education, healthcare, and agriculture, as and is being stolen. As I told you, that's why I told you that we will face corruption head on. Corruption head on. So that, I mean, as soon as I come in, most of that goes to what we call budgeted corruption. I will sit with my people, with my team, and say, look, scrutinize this budget. What do we give priority to? All these things are essential, but there are some you must give priority to. What they are talking about, as I said, health and education, these are things which can't wait.
Yeah.
We address that and make sure that we are funding for those functions. We are funding for those functions, then the others will come in. As I told you, one of the major pillars in my campaign is improving, I mean, getting the economy back on its feet, so that we can create employment, so that there can be money circulation. You know, there is no money circulation in the country. Because, I mean, literally all the economic activities have been stifled. And there is very, very little money in circulation. So you make that and have the country running.
Yeah.
I mean, we address that. We will give priority to what is supposed to be given priority to, and deal with those ills as we go through. I mean, in the period that we are there. I must say that we are not going to have everything, deliver everything overnight. That, I mean, to tell Kenyans that you will be unrealistic and actually even stupid.
Yeah.
You will be making those promises that you will not fulfill, that are not realistic, that are not attainable, because of the resources that you will have. So that's how I want to deal with that.
Okay, you know, I just want to go back a little bit to your tenure, and essentially, if the president, the deputy president, the speaker of the National Assembly, etc., were not there, it would have been Chief Justice David Maraga, you know, as a caretaker president over a period, if I'm understanding or remembering my lessons in civics correctly. And it's related to what the person was asking. with regard to, these kinds of policies that you've elucidated. Like, where is the problem? Because it seems like we're able to get Kenya moving only to the extent that the big boys, want this country to move forward. So you, in effect, were a big boy, right, in the last tenure, in that you occupied a position that was quite powerful, and you've said yourself that there's equality amongst all branches of government. People want to know where exactly the problem is, and how do you then unlock that? How do you fix it? Yeah.
You can't single it to one particular point.
Yeah.
And because all these activities actually like talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
You can't provide for education or health if you don't have the resources.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have the resources if the economy is collapsing.
Mm.
So all these activities have to be harmonized.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is there is a lot of wastage of public resources. My team is working on that. That is the first thing we will make a stop to.
Okay.
Make a stop to that. When it comes to budget, you will look at the budget lines. And of course, we have, economic experts say, look, the resources we have are this. This is how much we have. With this, what do we do? As I said, prioritize what we should do.
Yeah.
As you improve the economy, as you reset the economy, deal with the very fast, the pressing issues, as I said, of health, education, and others. With for example, employment. As you improve the economy, we have a learned society. We have youths who have gone to school very well, as you said.
Yeah.
Some of them are very innovative. Those ones who show, talent and they show innovation, get them, grab them very quickly. Because some of those are, in the course of doing something for himself, he's going to have employees. How many employees do you have here?
About 26.
There you are.
Yeah.
There you are. You have started this, you have 26. And as we proceed, as we go on, I'm sure you're going to have more.
Yeah.
So this kind of innovation, I will have somebody going to those people. As soon as you hear that there is an innovation here, ask those people, what can we do for you?
Yeah.
To actualize your dream in this, knowing that you have not only given him employment, you are most likely going to give employment to many others through him.
Okay.
And if you do that, we have gone to places. There's one time I was in London. Sometimes back I was waiting for somebody. I got there very early. It was in a shopping mall, and the shops were being opened. I was very, very keen about a lady who opened a flower shop. You would call it a flower kiosk, because it is hardly it is like 6 feet by 6 feet. She's there. She opened it and she dusted and I looked at her and I said, yes, this lady, first of all, is able to pay rent for this space she's occupying. And she's able to earn a living from this. And shortly, some 2 other people joined her. To do that, very small business, but she's doing that. I was very impressed. I said, look, this is what we need back home. That was, years back.
Yeah.
I said, look, if we can get people doing their small things here and there, and you facilitate those people, they will be able to work and work very well. If you have been to London, you know the city of London has, before it develops a shopping mall, it does feasibility study. It knows that it will get people to pay rent for this and the kind of economic activities that will go on there. The central government assists where it is required to assist. They do the road network and everything to those places. That's the kind of thinking we want to have. That's the kind of thinking we want to have. And as I told you, I have a team of very, very competent economists who are going to advise us on that.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt that what will be required to do, we will know what we will be required to do.
Yeah.
And it's a question of getting whatever resources you have and channel them accordingly.
Okay.
Giving priority to the Kenyans.
Yeah, Tom.
And if I may add, I have no doubt in my mind that when the Kenyans will see that you are actually, with whatever you have, you are doing your very best to assist them, even when you tell them, look, this year we collected so much. This is how we utilize. And in fact, I want to like to give a balance sheet. Is that the economic term they use? A balance sheet to the Kenyans and say, look, this is how much we collected this year. This is how much we got from loans if loans are there. This is how much we got from grants, and this is how we have applied it.
Yeah.
When you do that, and the Kenyans see that you are being open, when they ask for something which is in the sky, you will tell them, look, where do I get this from?
Where do I get this money?
They will not even ask for what they know you can't provide because of the resources in your hands.
We're running out of time here, and I want us to start bringing this show home. But Tom, you have a couple of questions that people are asking, plus final thoughts for you, Justine, as well, and Tom. So go, Tom.
Important for us to ask this question because we're having you here so you can answer their questions, not our questions.
Okay.
So Brian Thouri asks, why did CJ Maraga see it fit to reintroduce the colonial wigs in the judiciary after CJ Mutunga made them optional? Then he also asks, what administrative experience does he have outside the judiciary?
Yes, the question of wigs. Did the wigs didn't change my mindset? It was a preference. Some people didn't like it. I mean, they didn't bother me. It was just like uniform. It's just like uniform. Some people have their own views, and I respect that. That is it. So you're saying, what administrative experience do I have? What administrative experience am I required to have as a president? What administrative experience I have? I ran the judiciary. I ran the judiciary for more than 4.5 years. Even before I became CJ, I was head of a division in the Court of Appeal. I mean, some of the administrative actions that you need to take feed into this. And I have said this more than a number of times, that I am not an expert in all aspects of governance. I know the framework. I know that we need to respect the law. We need not to steal public resources. We need to give dignity to the people of Kenya. If I have that vision and I want to implement it, what I need are the experts. What I need are the experts to employ in various institutions that are charged with the responsibility of delivering that. And those experts are not just going to. I mean, they will be held accountable. What do you want to do here? Why do you want to do this? There will be experts who will ask that. There will be the public themselves who will ask why they want to do that. And of course, as I told you, we have a very informed citizenry. You're not going to play around with them. They are not fools.
Yeah.
So if you are there, I believe I have what it takes to run the government.
Bonus question, Jam. I feel unfair because Ian Muli has pasted this question
Endelea
twice. He says, I've already recruited 4 votes for him in my household. Ask the good gentleman, I think he means you specifically, if he gets the top job, would he have a bias for the judiciary given his background, especially on budget allocation? I mean, we need to wrap this up. So,
it's a good question, though.
That I will do. That I will do because I know the judiciary has been extremely underfunded, and deliberately so, so that it doesn't question quite a number of what the government is doing. We will give the judiciary the funding it requires, I mean, to the extent of what the economy can allow. To tell me that a judiciary is being given 25 billion shillings, judiciary spread all over the country, and you're giving another arm of government more than 2-3 times that, which doesn't have as many activities as this one, that's not right. That's not right, and it is the judiciary in most cases is set to fail, so that they continue. They go to the judiciary. I mean, the executive begging. You know, when you are a beggar, you know what that means.
Beggar never chooses.
Yeah, he doesn't choose. So it's not only the judiciary. There are quite a number of other institutions, including even the police.
Yeah,
the police institutions. We want the police to be reformed. There are many reports about the police even before mine came in, and we have said that in my report. We will make sure that those reform recommendations are implemented to the extent that the economy can allow, so that, as I said, the police are given facilities to fight. I mean, to fight crime.
Yeah.
For instance, I mean, I got it during my time as the chairman of the task force, that the police don't even have fuel. Somebody was to report a case that, I mean, somebody has been beaten up somewhere, and the police are helpless. They say, look, we don't have fuel, which is true in some cases, which is true. But later on, the information you get is that fuel was allocated. But somehow it didn't reach the police stations.
Okay.
Those are the things we wanted to attend to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of issues that I'm itching to get into, but we really don't have the time for today. And hopefully when we invite you next time, there'll be a lot more clarity around your economic pillar, you know, your social pillar, etc., so that we can talk specifics.
Correct.
Because there's a lot of hunger for that coming from our audience.
Yes.
But Justine, you have some thoughts that you want to kind of wind up with.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll not ask the CJ any more questions, but just to, so what happened, I think it's yesterday, the former police spokesman, his name is Charles Owino, if I'm not wrong, said if he was talking about Boniface Karaoke's shooting, and he said if you listen closely to the clip of Boniface getting shot, that you can hear him abuse the policeman, almost to say that him getting shot was allowed or warranted. And this is my idea. Honestly, I think if you're running for any office, or if you're in any community, you have either been made fun of by your friends, I am a comedian, we roast each other so mercilessly. I don't think comedians are regular, normal people. We make fun of each other all the time. So you know banter, you get used to the laughs, you get used to the mockery, but you know it's done in good faith. So and technically before your friends become your friends, they're strangers. So you have to treat them with kindness, you have to treat them with the dignity that they deserve. So to hear someone who worked in the police service doing utumishi kwa mouth running, he's doing utumishi kwa mouth running for the police as it stands. Couple that with what the Interior CS added, where he blatantly said, like, gave a shoot to kill order, and then when he was held accountable for it, he was like, I didn't say that. And I was like, no, there's like 3 clips, and then there's 2 more where you doubled down, and then there's even more where you literally you emphasized that these were orders from above. So if you're in any of these positions and you're out there and you're having a lovely week with your family, kindly think of what Boniface Kariuki's life has ended. It was ended so tragically, and we all saw it, and it doesn't matter what he said in that moment. It doesn't matter what he did. His life should not be ended.
Did he actually? I mean, I maybe I missed it.
Apparently, Charles Owino seems to have supersonic hearing because he's the only person who has
none of us can hear anything.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I saw the clip.
Yeah.
This man was leaning against the wall.
Yes.
Here is facing 2 armed policemen. Even if you ask the youngest child, would he dare abuse anybody? Would he dare?
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, like Charles Owino, I think he has dog whistles. He has that kind of supersonic hearing.
I want anybody who has that clip. I would like to hear it. I was shocked when I saw that, and I said, "Wait, he abused in that kind of state." I mean, it's totally unreasonable. First of all, from the situation, and even if he did.
Does it warrant a bullet in the head?
Does it warrant? The most it would have, I mean, if this one were also annoyed, the most he would do is to slap him.
Which is even actually illegal.
Which is even itself,
even the slap.
Illegal.
Yeah.
He would have just arrested.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying even if you were to say this man was also angered at that spur of the moment, which is wrong itself. The most he would do is to slap him. I have yet to get. I wish somebody would get that clip, and we all listen to it.
True.
Just to emphasize what you've said, in that moment, honestly, if you're really mad, remove your uniform, back in a vest, piganeni. Don't shoot someone. Like, if you have the strength and the fortitude to get angry, you can actually take an action as a civilian. Don't use your uniform. Don't use the trust that you've been given by an institution to essentially protect people to abuse the same people. And it doesn't matter what Boniface Kariuki did. He did not deserve what happened to him. His family does not deserve to be on TV giving us updates about his health, because he should be here.
Madam, there's something else Charles said, and I've asked somebody, even the newsroom, to get me a clip of that. I went to march to the streets, if you want to call it so, to march with the family of the deceased persons. And if you check the clip with me, I was with 2 mothers and their siblings. The others had not come. We were marching to where they were going to lay flowers. We had been assured by none other than the Commissioner, Inspector General of Police, that the police would assist those people to go and lay flowers and march. Those of us who shared their views went to march with them. What I'm saying, and I've asked for to be shown clips, is that the people I was marching with, one of them lit a fire on Kenyatta Avenue. I didn't see it. I wanted to see that fire which was lit to warrant the canisters that were thrown at me. And of course with the mothers whom I was with. One of them we had run, and my people, as they were pulling me, pull also, and we ran into Nation House. So that's what we are saying. The people I was marching with, when they check, there is nothing that was destroyed along Mbingu Street. The street, the shops there, nothing was destroyed. So what warranted that? I mean, it's like the police didn't want these people to march. The police did not want those people to march.
Perhaps it's an extension.
Because we had just started. We had not even moved 100 meters.
I think it's an extension of what Justine is talking about here.
Yeah.
Where when you have the powers of the state in your hands, quite literally in the shape of a gun, and you use that to your own advantage or acting out of your own emotion and disrupt, in your instance, you know, it was tear gas. In Boniface Kariuki's instance, it was his life.
Yes.
It was his life that was taken away. That's
and was he shot with bullet? I mean, a rubber bullet?
Whatever he was shot with, I believe it was, they're saying that it was a rubber bullet. But at close range,
okay,
you know, he was brain dead by the time he got to hospital. Now, Justina, first of all, sijui kama ulikuwa umemalizia.
Mimi nimekasirika. Msiongee hivyo juu ya maisha ya watu. I don't think you people understand, like being a Kenyan right now, especially if you have no resources, is so survivalist that when you kill someone in someone's family, you have probably destroyed their entire economic future. You shouldn't be doing that. It's wrong.
Yeah. No, wajua hivyo. It's true. It's actually wrong. I want us to wind up on this note. Last week was an incredibly heavy week, both in terms of the remembrance of June the 25th and the events that then now took place on the anniversary, right? And with that in the background, there was Albert Ojwang, there was Boniface Kariuki. There were so many things that we were burdened by, add to our own economic troubles. But I want to donate my time for these final thoughts to you and ask you a question on what the flip side of that looks like in your mind. What is the country of your dreams, David Maraga? And how do you, as a presidential candidate come president, help us get onto the road of the country of your dreams?
Thank you. Incidents like those where police have used excessive power, and of course they have angered the nation. You've got to address the root cause of the problem. It's not even okay, allow these people to mourn, allow these people to protest, because especially when nothing has been done about that. I'm sure if government had taken action and justice was done to the deceased, to those who died in 2017, perhaps we would not have had the demonstrations and the marches. Because nothing had been done, and nothing has been done. Now, what is coming out is that Maraga went to incite those people. Those people are entitled. I was sympathetic to their cause. If it didn't happen to them, it would happen to me. Some of those could easily be my relatives if they were there. So I sit back because I was not involved, and don't be concerned. I went there, I mean, in sympathy, and I went there to be in solidarity with those people, and that's why I was marching with them. The clips will show that one mother was here and another one was here, and that we were marching. In fact, I thought I was very safe, until I was tear gassed. I was surprised. Yeah. In other words, I mean, they were not just tear gassing me; they were tear gassing even these mothers, whom they had given assurance that they would be allowed to march and finish. And that was at about 10:30. 10:30 going to 11. Had the police not intervened, I don't see how that march would have gone beyond 12 o'clock. Those people would have marched from wherever they were near Nation House to Kimati Street. I was told they were going to again to Moi Avenue, somewhere there, and then Parliament. How long would that have taken? About an hour. And those people would have at least felt that they have been allowed to express their what?
Maraga, the country of your dreams. What is it?
The country of my dream is when something like that happens, take responsibility. Where a mistake has been made by your government, take responsibility. stand up and even apologize, and then take appropriate action to ensure that something like that doesn't happen. You will have I mean, if you act like that, people will see that you care about them. You care about them. In other words, what we are going to do is anything wrong happening in government, appropriate action has to be taken to make sure it doesn't recur.
Okay.
That's how government is run. My understanding, some people are saying, what experience do I have? That's how I understand the government. Some of these things are common sense. I mean, you take appropriate action to make sure it does not recur. Where, as I said, where it has been done, I mean, you apologize. That does not make you weak. No.
Okay.
Speaking of protests and demonstrations, there's this bill that has just been re-upped. I think this thing was first introduced last year, right before the protests. I'm speaking about the Assembly and Demonstrations Bill, which was tabled, I think, proposed by Geoffrey Ruku. Then he was an MP. Now he's a member of parliament, which is...
He's a CS.
Yeah, he's a CS, which says a lot about how the government rewards its cronies. But this bill that not only seeks to limit how people can move around the city when they're protesting, I read it, and it actually even limits the placards that people can go with to these protests. It's so draconian to the core. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this with all the experience that you have on constitutionalism and the constitution and law.
What I foresee, if that bill were to be passed, it will have a lot of legal challenges. It will have a lot of legal challenges because it will take back the right of expression. It will take the fundamental rights. It will be unconstitutional. I doubt whether it will be passed, but if it is passed, you can rest assured it is going to be seriously contested.
Yeah. We're also dealing with a government that doesn't care about court orders or court decisions.
Yeah. Was that part of your public participation piece for this?
Yeah, it was, but I couldn't have done it as well as he just did it.
Okay.
That's enough. You don't speak after David Maraga.
All right, guys, we are nearly at 2 hours. This is a conversation that should have taken on. I'm sure even you, the time has just flown like this. Yeah. So this means, obviously, that we must invite you back so that we can deal with many of the things, many of the questions that we didn't ask, many of the points that we wanted to put across, and the debate that we have here. But it was a good introduction of you to our audiences, and audiences did ask quite a number of questions, as you've heard from Tom. And there's lots and lots and lots to unpack as we go forward towards 2027, that being a date for the election, but just even going forward towards tomorrow, what Kenya looks like tomorrow and what David Maraga's impression is of the Kenya of tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining us, CJ Emeritus.
Yeah, thank you, Nam. If I may say the last word.
Yes.
I expected you to give me.
Yes. I was coming to that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, if I may say the last word, as I've said, and I want to repeat it, we want to set this country back to where it is supposed to be, as per the Constitution, where the law is respected, where public resources are not private property, where dignity is given to the Kenyan irrespective of his position in society. And the dignity here is, when somebody is sick and they can't get basic health care that he is entitled to, you have literally, undressed him. You have literally undressed him when we should have basic education given up to secondary school, as the Constitution provides, and even in university education, the government should deal with that squarely, and where it is because of lack of funds, it should discuss with the parents and say, look, this is what we can afford, and the parents, through their representatives, come up with a formula that works and enables children from every family, not only those from rich families, to go to university. If we didn't have that free education, I would not be here today. No, I will not be here today. I don't know about you. I will not be here today because I would not have afforded.
Yeah.
I came from a very poor family. I would not have afforded. And there are millions and millions of those kind of people. A country must get its human resource by training its own people. Training its own people and training them well. It must fund that and ensure that it has that. My little knowledge of economics is that human resource is perhaps the most important resource you need in any enterprise.
Yeah.
Apart from, of course, financial resources. So I mean, we should take care of our children, take care of our health, and ensure that the economy runs. The economy runs. Kenya is a strong economy, by the way, comparatively.
Yeah.
Kenya is a strong economy, but we are going down. I was being told that in a year or two, if you are going to fly out of this country, you are going to go through other countries. Yeah, because Nairobi assists to be a hub. I mean, a flight hub. We have lost that. Some are going to say, look, you made a lot of noise and made sure that Adan didn't go on. The issue, in my understanding, is not that Kenya, I mean, the airport didn't require a facelift. The issue was the procurement process. The issue was the procurement process. But people are bringing arguments to conflict.
And cover it.
Conflict issues that are supposed to be faced.
Okay.
Yeah.
A last word well elucidated. And, you know, if you were to reference where he's getting it from, it's Article 1 of the Constitution that lays out all of our dreams and our desires as citizens of the Republic of Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, what a show it's been this week. The podcast has been, I have to say, very, very interesting. Great insights from each of you, Justine, Tom, and obviously our guest, David Maraga, former Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, joining us here on The Big Picture. Thank you very much for joining us. This is going to be on Spotify, on all of your favorite platforms. And for those of you who've been following us on X, as well as YouTube, thank you very much for following us. Back next week. Great guest, another great guest, great topic, great insights. And as always, The Big Picture. My name is John Allen Namu. We'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.
Serikali hii, mimi nawaambia hii serikali ni ya mahasla.
Matumaini ya kila mtu. That's the reason why we voted this government.
To keep on lying and lying.
You are being taxed everywhere. You're not being told where the money is gonna go.
I stand to support this Finance Bill 2024.
Must members of that opinion say aye? So the ayes have it.
The day has come, my brothers.
Watch him. We gotta watch him. We gotta watch him. Si walisema mambo ya Rivayala waliwacha.
Conversation this crucial was hijacked by dangerous people.
But we cannot relax.
We gave you the best, somewhere to rest, but now you're moving against us. You're making a mess.
I'm here to address you. You must go. Ruto must go.
Soba,
Samoei Ruto, hii serikali hii, mimi nawaambia hii serikali ni ya mahasla.
Matumaini ya kila mtu. That's the reason why we voted this government.
To keep on lying and lying.
You are being taxed everywhere. You're not being told where the money is gonna go.
I stand to support this Finance Bill 2024.
As members of that opinion say aye. So the ayes have it.
The day has come, my brothers.
Watch him. We gotta watch him. We gotta watch him. Si walisema mambo ya Rivayala waliwacha.
Conversation this crucial was hijacked by dangerous people.
But we cannot relax.
We gave you the best, somewhere to rest, but now you're moving against us. You're making a mess.
I'm here to address you. You must go. Ruto must go.
Soba,